They told her it was a closed-door hearing. No cameras, no press, no live stream, just a single white envelope slipped under her office door in the early hours of Tuesday morning. The seal? United States Supreme Court. No signature, no return. Address. Just 7 words in stark typewritten font. Attendance required. No legal counsel permitted. Representative Jasmine Crockett stared at the envelope for nearly 2 full minutes. It wasn't like any congressional summons she'd received before. The wording was vague, disturbingly so, but the location was crystal clear. Room 303, Old Supreme Court Chamber, 9 a.m., Thursday. Subject, Judicial Misconduct Review. Non-public session, judicial misconduct. She wasn't a judge. No disciplinary notices. Nothing on the House floor. Just veiled threats dressed up as protocol. She looked up at the photo above her desk. Her father, her first day at the Dallas County courthouse. She whispered, "If I don't show up, they'll say I ran. If I do, they better be ready." Thursday, 8:57 a.m. Room 303 was colder than she expected. Not in temperature, but in temperature. 9 justices already seated, semicircle style, robes stiff, expressions blank. John Roberts dead center, fingers steepled. To his sides, Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito. The rest, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, Barrett, Sotomayor, Kagan, Jackson, silent sentinels of American jurisprudence. 1 chair, no desk, no mic, no water, metal, gray. Exactly 7 feet from the nearest justice. Message received. Roberts didn't rise. "Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, do you believe in the supremacy of law?" No smile, no pause, just a punch of a question. She sat, folded her hands, raised her eyes. "I believe in law. That's why I'm here." 3 weeks earlier, a private lounge atop a judicial retreat in Williamsburg. No aides, no agenda, just Roberts, Thomas, and Alito, whispering not about crime, not about precedent, but about her, Jasmine Crockett, the Congresswoman asking questions nobody else dared. Financial disclosures, offshore accounts, conflict of interest, and worse, winning the public's trust. "She's turning legal integrity into a circus," Alito muttered. "She's undermining confidence in the court," Thomas added. Roberts waited, calculated, then asked, "Can we disqualify her?" Not from Congress, from influence, from legitimacy, from public discourse. It started with a file, confidential, misuse of classified evidence, then an ethics complaint. Then the envelope. Back to room 303. Barrett leaned in. "You possessed sensitive metadata during the July 12th hearing. Do you deny this?" Silence. Alito. "Did you receive documents from a whistleblower via encrypted drive?" No response. Gorsuch. "Were you aware that disclosing classified content in a public hearing violates federal secrecy law?" Crockett reached into her blazer, pulled out a single sheet, placed it on a side table. The very document they were referencing. Dated July 10th. But the metadata? Edited July 15th, after the hearing. Flagged by U.S. Marshals. Unknown user. No signature. She looked at them. Who signed this? Silence. And just like that, the room turned. She was no longer the accused. She was the investigator. Calm, unshaken, and most dangerous of all, armed with proof. Kavanaugh tried to recover. "And what exactly do you think this hearing is, Congresswoman?" She didn't blink. "I think it's a mirror. And I think the reflection scares you." Then the door opened. A court officer, mid-50s, generic, whispered to Roberts, "We will recess for 10 minutes." Crockett stayed seated, waited. When they were gone, she stood, collected the sheet, walked to leave. A janitor, scrubbing marble, whispered without looking at her, "Check the red folder." In her bag, zipped tight, she found it. Unmarked red plastic. Inside, a USB, no label. Taped to a post-it, no network, no cloud, just truth. She used her offline laptop, secure, air-gapped. One file, SCP Intel correspondence password. She typed, supremacy click, dozens of emails from judicial aliases, personal accounts, internal IPs, subject lines, limiting congressional overreach media. Containment strategy influence map, Crockett, then, from Roberts, JuiceComSecure.net date, July 3rd. Subject, the fire's catching. If she keeps asking questions, we make her the question. She froze. A strategy memo followed. Plans to redefine oversight, manipulate televised hearings, remove House members from key sessions. This wasn't misconduct. It was orchestration. A silent coup of power through bureaucracy. 10 minutes later, they returned. Roberts said, "Let us continue." Crockett stood, folder in hand. "Will this testimony be added to the congressional record?" Alito. "This isn't a congressional hearing." "Then let's make it both." She placed a printed email on the table. The Roberts email. The sentence. The plan. Gorsuch. "Where did you get this?" She met his eyes. "From someone who cleans the floors you walk on." The room dropped 10 degrees. Sotomayor. "If unfounded, this destroys public trust." Crockett. "If founded, that trust was misplaced." And just like that, the Supreme Court was on trial. Outside, 10:41 a.m., a still image leaked. Her versus 9. Caption, 9 verse 1. Trending within minutes. Then came the 8-second clip. Alito leaning to Thomas. She won't make it to re-election. By 11 hours a.m., X and TikTok were flooded. Law students. Retired judges, civilians. 2 hashtags. 9 vs 1. Leather speak, Howard Law professor. "This is institutional treason disguised as protocol." Latina student. "Today I saw what courage looks like." Then streets, campuses, truck stops, hospital lobbies. This wasn't a leak anymore. It was a reckoning. Inside a second document. A notarized clerk testimony. "I witnessed off-record calls between justices and campaign advisors. Rulings followed donor interests." She read it aloud. Laid it on the table. "Will anyone here deny this?" No answer. Then she said it. "I'm not the witness. You are now." Outside, the phrase echoed, became a tweet, a t-shirt, a jazz solo, a sermon. By 2 p.m., it was etched into the public lexicon. Inside, Roberts ordered a pause. This is becoming a spectacle. Crockett didn't move, didn't flinch. Outside, they were chanting, "Let her speak, let her speak." Houston, civil rights attorneys launched petitions. Chicago, law students walked out. LA, retired judges issued a rare joint statement. Transparency is not optional. Silence is not neutral. One DC op-ed went viral. They built the room. She owned the space. By mid-afternoon, it was a wave. A live stream launched. Then another. Thousands joined. Hundreds of thousands. One comment dominated. "It's not 9 versus 1 anymore. Back in the chamber. Congresswoman Crockett, what do you want?" She leaned forward. "The same thing I wanted when I walked in. For the truth to stop needing permission." 3:07 p.m. $4.2 million raised. 12 nonprofits. One name, the People's Court Defense Fund. Their mission? Simple. To ensure no public servant stands alone when truth becomes inconvenient. Coverage, counsel, consequences. Jasmine Crockett had walked into room 303 alone, but she wasn't alone anymore, and truth didn't ask permission. It never had. Then came the signature that shook every marble column in Washington. Wells and Marshall Trust, D.C.'s largest private financial institution, historically silent and apolitical, had just broken its own precedent. By 3:21 p.m., media outlets scrambled to verify what now seemed undeniable. CNN confirmed the deposit. MSNBC ran the ticker. Fox News hosted a hesitant roundtable on activist money and judicial integrity, but it didn't end there. At 3:34 p.m., another donation appeared. $1 million. Anonymous, accompanied by a handwritten note. I was raised to believe in justice. Today I saw 9 seats tremble before one woman. I believe in the law, but I believe in her more. A photo of the note on unbranded cream stationery went viral in under 5 minutes. By 4 p.m., the donations exploded. Not millions, but meaning. $117.42 from a retired nurse in Atlanta, $28 from an Oregon debate team, $5 from a homeless vet in Chicago. She's fighting for people who sleep on benches like me. Venmo, GoFundMe, PayPal. All surged. People Fund trended beside .letterspeak. And then the ground shifted. A full-page ad appeared in the New York Times, paid for by Detroit small businesses. Just 10 words in bold black and white. This courtroom belongs to the people now. In room 303, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett hadn't moved. They had asked her what she wanted. She hadn't shouted, hadn't pointed. She'd presented a chart, a stark graph showing the rulings of 6 justices across. 137 business cases tied to undisclosed foundation payments. A red thread connecting each name. She looked up and said quietly, "It's not illegal to be rich, but it is unethical to pretend your wealth doesn't whisper in your ear while you wear the robe." Justice Roberts exhaled. This wasn't salvageable. Not through spin. Not this time. Outside, a new wave arrived. Veterans. Hundreds of them. No weapons. Just folded flags and photographs of loved ones who died believing in equal justice. They said nothing. They didn't need to. By 5 p.m., C-SPAN cut regular programming. Legal experts debated constitutionality. Clerks leaked anonymously. Petitions erupted nationwide. Judicial immunity is not divinity was now etched on signs in 50 cities. At one NY law school, a banner read, "She doesn't wear black, but she's restoring the robe." Justice Gorsuch tried one last pivot. "Congresswoman, precedent protects judicial independence from political retaliation." Crockett replied, "Independence isn't immunity. I'm not suggesting. I'm showing you data. You call it impartiality. The people call it performance." Then came the buzz. Not a phone, not a mic. A murmur from the hallway. A collective breath held. A clerk stepped in and whispered to Roberts. He stood. No recess, no order. Just 6 words. "This session is adjourned." And he left, not with authority, with retreat. Crockett remained still. When the last robe exited, she rose, placed a final envelope on the table. No name, just 3 handwritten words. "For the record." Outside, silence met her. Then, one by one, the veterans saluted. She returned the gesture, hand over heart. No applause. Just fire and dignity. By 6 p.m., a new initiative launched, the Crockett Doctrine, a scholarship fund for law students committed to judicial transparency. 5 full rides announced. By 7:45 p.m., Jasmine was back in her Dallas office, alone, unplugged, unshaken. What began as silence had become an echo. But she wasn't chasing noise. She was chasing patterns. Now she turned to Kenya. Months earlier, during a hearing on international grants, she'd flagged suspicious wire transfers. Harmless on the surface, $275,000 every 91 days. Different recipient names, same routing numbers. What was strange? The signatures. They matched. Now she had proof. A sealed envelope appeared on her desk after the hearing. Inside, a flash drive and a single printed page. The flash, metadata spreadsheets. The page? A funding slip from the Foundation for Judicial. Youth Empowerment signed. Clarence Thomas. She cross-referenced 5 other documents. Same signature, same ink. But the recipient, Jupiter Political Solutions, a Florida consulting firm. Their specialty, campaign strategy. They had recently run anonymous digital ads attacking congressional oversight. Crockett now had the paper trail. By 8:12 p.m., she opened a secure Zoom call with 3 people, a Geneva-based forensic accountant, a Guardian journalist, and a DOJ whistleblower. The verdict was unanimous. This is engineered laundering. And worse, it's self-directed. The sender and recipient are part of the same shell. Crockett went live. No makeup, no filter. Just her. This isn't charity. It's concealment. She held up the document. Jupiter Political Solutions is not a school. It's a front. And it has the signature of a sitting Supreme Court justice. The internet exploded. Legal TikTok lit up. YouTubers streamed. Hashtags surged. And scholarship or shell. Then came confirmation from Kenya. No such schools, no students, empty buildings, mailboxes, fabricated beneficiaries, and the final nail? Jupiter Political Solutions was owned by the niece of a judge appointed by Clarence Thomas. At 10:00 p.m., MSNBC aired the document. A former Thomas clerk read it live. Either this is fake, or we are witnessing the largest breach of judicial ethics in history. He added, either way, this isn't a court. It's a cartel. In robes. At 10:42 p.m., CNN confirmed. The Florida firm had gone dark. Website down. Phone disconnected. LLC status, pending dissolution. By 11 p.m., Crockett posted one final line. This isn't a leak. It's a spotlight. The next morning, 7:02 a.m., the Supreme Court was a fortress. Over 125,000 people stood outside. No violence. Just presents, signs, law books, coffee, children, and one sentence in every heart. This isn't a leak. It's a spotlight. By 7:26 a.m., the court announced the hearing was delayed indefinitely. New hashtags emerged. Shack Court in retreat. Delay is not justice, projected onto the Library of Congress. At 9 a.m., Crockett walked out of her office. Alone, no press. The crowd parted, no cheers, just reverence. She approached the court, file in hand. The folder read, "For the public, security." Blocked the door. She sat on the steps, cross-legged, calm, unfolded the documents, and began reading. No theatrics. No blame. Just facts. Inside, Roberts watched the feed. Someone had leaked it again. A clerk, maybe, but it didn't matter. Crockett's voice echoed through stone. This isn't a courtroom anymore. It's a mirror. Let the country look. Justice. Kavanaugh turned off his monitor. Barrett left the chamber. Roberts stood still. For the first time, he had no ruling. Because this wasn't about law. It was about legacy. Outside, Jasmine read transfer logs, shell companies, timestamps, signatures. Clarence Thomas across them all. Then C-SPAN broke protocol, broadcasted everything. The steps became the stage. She read a final letter from a former judicial aide. I tried to report the misuse. I was told, it's not your concern. But I believe it is hers. She looked up. I am not your concern, but the people always should be. Silence, then movement. Not away from the court, toward it. At 11:07 a.m., Congress announced an emergency judicial review, the Crockett Protocol. By 12:44 p.m., H.R. 991 was drafted, the Public Mirror Act, and on the court steps, a former judge laid down his robe, quiet, dignified, then 7 more, then 10. The robe drop had begun, and justice had left the chamber, but truth had just walked out the front door.